Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar Ideathons 2023 Recap, Highlights from Innovator Showcases. My name is Tuğçe Uslu. I'm Product Marketing Manager here at Lux, and I will be moderating today's webinar. I am joined by three brilliant women, my colleagues, Cansu Doğanay, Matilda Della Fontana, and Urbi Patak.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. And throughout the webinar, you can type any questions you have in the questions box on your screen. We will try to answer as many questions as we can, of course, as the time allows, at the end of the webinar. You can also email your questions to us at questions@luxresearchinc.com, and we will respond as well. At Lux, we talk to hundreds of startup companies every year. We write company assessments on them. We write company profiles on them. For those who are not familiar with Lux, our clients are innovation leaders from multinational corporations and are foreseeing sustainable innovation strategy and roadmaps as part of their jobs. And so we know that our clients are interested in learning about emerging innovators, and especially also engaging more directly with the representatives of these startups or early stage companies. Therefore, we hold Ideathons, these virtual pitch sessions, to bring interesting startups in front of our clients. So the clients can get to hear directly from startups and can engage in conversations with them immediately. Actually, especially during COVID, these virtual interactions became so popular that we continue to do Ideathons periodically. Since late 2022, we have been organizing them every month. Now that we have done a full year of Ideathons, we wanted to really step back and look at the lessons learned from past sessions. And throughout 2023, we brought forward 54 innovator companies, including startups and SMEs, and held interesting discussions around key themes spanning energy, manufacturing, and consumer products within these 11 Ideathons that took place this year, actually, still. And at the end of each Ideathon, each session, attendees voted for the best pitch. In other words, most compelling presentation from their perspective, and selected a winner. Some of the winners are on the slide, you can see here. And my colleagues Cansu, Matilda, and Urbi here analyzed the past Ideathons and identified the common elements of winning pitches. So why did they win? And they also analyze the best approaches to engage with emerging innovators. So they're here today to bring perspectives from energy, materials manufacturing, and consumer products industries, respectively. And now we will discuss two main things: what makes a winning pitch and how clients should collaborate with startups. Without further ado, let's get started with the first question. And I would like to have my experts discuss them with me. So Cansu, when you reviewed the past several Ideathons with an energy theme, what were the key components from your perspective that make up the winning pitches?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Tuğçe. So one of the themes we saw is concerned about mitigating risks in the energy transition. And this affected the votes of our clients in the energy Ideathons. So because of this, we saw that the audience was leaning towards technologies enabling energy transition with the minimum risk possible, and therefore the trend was voting for high TRL but innovative technologies, or technologies that are adaptable to their existing assets, which makes sense considering the fact that our oil and gas or chemicals or materials clients are participating in the markets with lots of uncertainties. For example, in our CCUS Ideathon from last year, actually, startups developing innovative point source or direct air capture and CO2 utilization technologies participated. And not surprisingly, the winning pitch was from Lanzatech, which has already gone to the market with its technology already scaled up and has a very strong portfolio of partners for commercial expansion. So because of these reasons, from our client's perspective, Lanzatech's technology represented the minimum risk in innovation while enabling decarbonization. But when it comes to the adaptable technologies into the existing assets, in our hydrogen economy ideathon, for example, we hosted startups developing different technologies to produce different colors of hydrogen. And these startups are active in, for example, green hydrogen production from water electrolysis, or turquoise hydrogen from methane pyrolysis, or one of them was exploring subsurface hydrogen production via microbe injection. Or we also had, a very pre-seed stage startup developing liquid biomass electrolysis for low carbon hydrogen. And we saw that our clients voted for, and showed a lot of interest in the methane pyrolysis developer, Innova Hydrogen from Canada, whose technology can actually be integrated into their natural gas assets with, no need to build a new infrastructure. Because especially when it comes to green hydrogen, a dedicated renewable energy infrastructure is needed, and the cost of electrolysis systems still need to come down. And so the industry is not taking the risk to be the first runner in the green hydrogen economy before strict policies are enacted. And that's why we think that was the trend in the energy transition, energy advancements.
Yeah, thank you very much. So basically integrating with existing infrastructure and having a higher maturity TRL technology were some of the common elements that you have seen in the energy space. So Matilda, do you see similarities with what Cansu said in materials and manufacturing themes in Ideathon pitches?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that those are important factors as well in the material manufacturing space. But, upon reviewing the Ideathon focus specifically on material manufacturing, it really became clear that the winning startups were bringing to the table two main things: impact and timing. And I'm going to explain a little bit here. Impact in this case really refers to the ability to reduce a quantifiable metrics. And that could be carbon footprint, fossil resources, waste generation, or even cost of the process, right? And timing that goes hand in hand with impact really refers to the solution ability to comply with current or emerging regulation. So this alignment between the solution impact and the regulation that we are seeing in the material manufacturing space is really like a key element, because we have seen great regulatory push and stakeholder pressure to really like decarbonize, reduce plastic use, enable circularity. And overall, what made the winning pitch was to stress out the problem and show the solution clearly. So we observe that, for example, giving measurable figures on the impact that the solution could bring to potential customer is a really effective way to draw attention. And I just want to give you like a couple of examples that we've seen in the Ideathon. For example, in the industry circularity one, the winning startup was called Microwave Solution. And they have developed this microwave process that really reduce waste generation. So address the problem of waste reduction. And it's not only focused on, plastic waste management, but also the waste generated from like more durable goods. And if you think now with like EPR schemes, really like expanding across the globe is a really important feature. In the plastic waste management, instead, the winning startup Cyclists develop a digital platform that can really help the customer overcome feedstock supply and preparation issue. And really this goes in hand with, a global mandate to incorporate more recycled content in plastic products, or even the sustainable manufacturing ideathons. That was like quite interesting because we had two winning startups. The first one, for Terra, is developing a low-embodied carbon substitute for cement. And they claim that they can reduce carbon emission up to 60% compared to one of conventional cement. While the second winning startups, Stuart Technology, really develop a printing process that claimed to be 1,000 times faster than traditional single bin selective laser sintering. So again, here, all of these startups really solve an industry need, so that is mainly driven by the regulatory pushes. And really, I would say that the main team were like focused on decarbonization, waste management, and efficiency, and how we can measure the impact toward those.
Yeah, if I may jump in to what Matilda said, I think timing as well as, our client's region of primary operation were also important because timing, as Matilda said, determine whether they should act now or they should, continue their operations, keep making money and, wait until the stricter policies are mandated. But since we see see policies as a major driver for the change in the energy sector, the region of operation of our clients was determining step factor for their vote, I would say, because even though there are exceptions, the majority of the attendees from the oil and gas sector from North America were attitude towards utilizing natural resources is more favorable or interested in the technologies to repurpose their assets, whereas clients from Asia and Europe were open to exploring emerging technologies, emerging alternatives, even though they wouldn't act immediately because of the lack of policy.
Absolutely, Chan. So this is like a great point you stress out, and I think that it is the same, in the materials and manufacturing sector. We are seeing so many times that while governments may have the same end goal, whether it's like reduce carbon emission or like reduce plastic waste, they often different in their approaches, and that really impact the technology availability in different regions. So yeah, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, very insightful. And I think in general, timing is probably one of the most important components that would make a winning pitch. Urbi, can you also tell us what other factors would make a winning pitch from a consumer products perspective?
Yeah, right, Tucci. So I also agree with what Matilda and Chansu just said. And adding to Jansu's point, I would like to add that even for CPG, we have seen that the regulatory perspective is a great point for developers in this field. And if you're talking into, say, the food applications, the regulatory bodies in Europe specifically is quite strict about the safety studies. So it kind of slows down the process there. But if you look into the US or Singapore, the rules there are quite lenient. But adding to those points, if you look particularly in the CPG, we are looking into the novel technologies that would enable some kind of scalability and impact within the agriculture fields as well as the food industries. So the first aspect that I want to highlight here is how a startup in this space is able to highlight some real world applications of the technologies. For example, emphasizing on the practical applications and demonstrating how their platforms are able to solve real world applications in real time. For example, if you look into the robotics in agriculture ideathon, the winning startup, Precision AI, they have this herbicide spraying drones, and they very specifically illustrated how their technology is able to reach the existing technologies of the farmers who are able to use this technology using the minimum amount of training, while also keeping in mind the cost perspective in mind. So that was kind of the winning point there. Also the ease of adoption and then integrating their technology into the existing capabilities that are available in agriculture. That kind of was the winning point in that startup. Again, if I look into a second aspect of a winning startup, specifically in CPG, it's important how the startups are able to demonstrate how they are able to diversify their applications. For example, waste valorization in CPG is a hot topic among our clients nowadays. And if you look into our ideathon on waste valorization, the winning startup Genesis, they highlighted how their waste valorization technology is applicable not just for niche applications, but also for the mass market applications. So going into biofuels or textile applications, or even for food applications. And that really differentiated them. Another example from the sustainable ingredient production ideathon, I would say, is EV Biotech, which kind of demonstrated how their strain developing platform that goes into a number of downstream applications can look into high value food ingredients, high value flavor ingredients, as well as textile ingredients, for example, spider silk. So this kind of diversity comes into play for winning startups in CPG, I would say.
Yeah, and if I may jump here, because Ruby, you mentioned like a few points that was like really interesting, because like especially in the material space, we have seen that for startups, you know, targeting multiple application most of the time is not the right way to go, because the startup risk to lose focus and put too many eggs in one basket. But what I find interesting is that in the CPG sector, most of the startup start targeting also like niche areas and developing this platform technology for different downstream application that traditionally we have seen then moving also into the material space when they reach several like later stage of validation. So I think that this also, you know, technology translation and application translation across the industry is really interesting, and we have witnessed that throughout the ideathons.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks, Matilda.
Yeah, thank you all. It's amazing, actually, how you look at these like winning pitches and identify these patterns. I'm actually curious if the audience, our clients and prospects, are also seeing similarities with what they're looking at when they are engaging with startups. So please write in the questions box on the screen if you have any feedback as well as questions on this discussion point. So Cansu, Matilda, and Urbi, thanks again for your analysis and sharing those analyses with specific examples, referring back to the winning startups. This is always helpful. I'm curious, actually, did you observe any recent accomplishments, developments from winning companies? Basically, I'm curious what happened to these companies after the ideathons.
Yeah, absolutely. I can start taking this question. So yeah, we have witnessed a few interesting developments. I would say that also throughout the ideathons, one of you know, I believe the best feature was the possibility to interact with startups, and that led to a few introduction. For example, Kelpie, the winner startups of the packaging innovation ideathons, was put in contact with one of the biggest chemical companies to understand better like the possibility for their technology development. But we have seen also like other winning startups, for example, Sewer Technology recently raising funding in the last month. So for sure, there have been some movement and interesting investment in the space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even for CPG, what I have seen is during the Ideathons, a number of our clients were quite interested in interacting with these startups. And in terms of success, I would say one of the recent accomplishments was by Helena, the winning startup during the Sustainable Ingredient Production Ideathon. And they are using precision fermentation in order to produce lactoferrin, which is an immune health ingredient and a very high value ingredient. So they were successfully able to scale up their production capabilities 3 times than they were expecting. So in terms of alternative ingredient space or immune health ingredients space, I would say that that was quite a significant achievement.
Yeah, I mean, just to add from the energy side, similarly, the winning pitch for the hydrogen economy ideathon, Innova Hydrogen, even though didn't lead to project development opportunities for them, we actually did several introductions for the company because yeah, again, our clients were interested to learn more about the technology. Also, even if even for the pitches that didn't win the ideathon competition, they also received a lot of interest during the breakout rooms and after the ideathon. So we also initiated the introduction for the other participating startups.
Yeah, I'm happy you all mentioned this because this actually brings us to the next question we want to discuss, right? How should clients collaborate with emerging innovators? John, so let's start with you. And looking back at the energy themes ideathons, what were the most effective approach, or in your opinion, what's the most effective approach for corporations to collaborate with startups?
Yeah, sure, Tuche. So when it comes to startup and corporation engagements, there's no perfect answer because as a corporation can form a relationship with a startup in many different ways. But of course, I think the most important thing is that the startup's technology need to be aligned with the strategic goal and the value of the company, of the corporation, which is in most cases decarbonization for the energy sector. Typically, in the energy space, we see these relationships in the form of investment or joint project development, which explains the increasing flux of private investment and project announcements in the energy sector. And given that this sector, this energy space, is very dynamic and interdependent, financial returns, of course, should not be expected in the near term because these technologies, the hydrogen or a CCU, are very capex intensive and depend on the development of other markets. So, for example, electrolysis is dependent on the development of a dedicated renewable electricity infrastructure, and CO2 to fuels will depend on the scale up of green hydrogen production. So that's why the financial returns will be meaningful in the long term. When it comes to project opportunities, we are also seeing the effect of uncertainty, lots of uncertainties in the energy market because there are many innovators with similar but unproven technologies at scale. And it is challenging to assess the unique capabilities of these startups, and this is likely why we don't see projects moving to the later stages, or in some cases not even announcing the solutions, the low carbon energy solutions provider. For example, when we looked at the global hydrogen generation projects last year, we saw a very obvious trend, a very obvious example of this actually. There have been over 1,000, electrolysis projects announced worldwide over the past years, but despite being officially announced, the electrolysis technology or the provider, the company, the partner company, was not announced. So it was yet to be, announced for more than 50% of these projects. So this showcases a very high level of uncertainty in the market, especially in the green hydrogen economy in this case. But of course, each company experiences a different level of decarbonization pressure. We all discussed the region of operation, policies, etc., and they develop their net zero strategies accordingly. So again, the partner selection or new initiatives in the project development, for corporations, again circle back to mitigating risks while remaining aligned with the strategic goals.
Yeah, thank you, Cansu. And yeah, Matilda, want to quickly give the mic to you. Can you tell us more about this from materials perspective as well?
Absolutely. I believe that, these are like really important thematics also in the materials manufacturing space. And during the Ideathons, we really noticed that startup with established partnership were more likely to win the audience vote, because at the end, partnership demonstrate effectiveness and traction for a given solution. And also having clear timeline on the commercialization plan is for sure a way to reassure potential customer. But here, actually, I want to talk and spend a couple of minutes explaining what we've witnessed in the case of a startup not having already that first partnership, because it's quite difficult to close down a deal at the beginning. So there are a few ways in which corporation can find low-risk ways of engaging with some of these early-stage startups. And one of these is really getting involved with an innovation cluster. So there are a few examples across the globe. For example, Brightlands Camelot Campus in the Netherlands, or Greentown Labs in America. And those are really innovation ecosystem that position startup to succeed by offering a full suite of service for companies to validate technology, access critical markets, and grow a successful business, right? So these are a really interesting place to engage with a number of startups without having to commit to a single company and assess if you want to be involved with them. And we've seen one of the winning startups starting exactly with an innovation cluster. So Forterra advanced its product development through participation in a cement concrete industry consortium for CC solution. And that gave them the possibility to test really numerous type of blends with major cement companies. And that really helped the startups and also give the opportunity to, company, big corporation already active in the space to test the technology without really commitment to long-term engagement due to the early stage of the startups. So really, this is a way that we have seen working, and I feel highlighting and suggesting as a quite effective way to engage with these early stage startups with low risk associated as well.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very interesting approach. I like that. Urbi, can you tell us also from the consumer products perspective, how should clients collaborate with emerging innovators?
Yes, Tejas. So if we look into CPG sector, one valuable strategy for clients, I would say, is to look for complementary technologies that would equip them with some kind of synergy, because at the end of the day, clients are always looking for synergies and how they can strengthen their market position and can potentially tap into new consumer segments, right? So for example, if you look into the food sector specifically, there are so many large ingredient companies that have some kind of side streams, but they lack the capabilities to actually valorize them for, say, converting them into high protein powders or high value ingredients. So there comes into play, say, some corporates with fermentation capabilities, maybe they should look into some kind of startups that are developing certain strains or specialized fermentation capabilities in order to produce these high value ingredients, and then start looking for some kind of engagement opportunities there. And if we look into the agriculture related clients, so for example, a big agri company who has capabilities in developing chemical fertilizers, in order to enhance their capabilities, or in order to tap into the consumer demand of looking into organic solutions, maybe they should look for this kind of developers who are, for example, using potassium solubilizing or phosphorus solubilizing bacteria, or some kind of organic solutions that go hand in hand with the bigger players. And in that way, look into possible collaborations there. So I would just, in overall, would like to say that this kind of approaches would certainly lead to seamless and an integrated portfolio, benefiting not just our clients, but also into these early or mid-stage startups that are developing in this space.
Yeah, thank you, Urbi. And you all shared very interesting approaches. And like Jansu said in the beginning, there's no perfect answer for sure, and there's nothing that fits all. So we will have to look at each technology area and the industry they're active, the company's goals and everything, and then there will be a roadmap specifically to this need. Thank you so much. I would like to summarize what we have discussed, and then we can move on to the client questions, the audience questions, actually. Yeah, we first discussed what makes up a winning pitch, and our experts here discussed that startups which focus their presentations on mitigating risks, achieving high impacts, and applying solutions at large scale have mostly won. Although there are subtle differences between startups' target markets, like what Urbi said, as diversifying product portfolio might be added value in the CPG space, but it might look like a less of focus in other areas, in materials and manufacturing space, for example. But it doesn't depend. Regardless of the industry, aligning with current and upcoming regulations is a key differentiator for all startups. And the second important takeaway is that obviously corporate innovation teams need to find effective approaches to collaboration with startups. Gaining access to innovation clusters may ease that. We're looking for a partner that complements existing capabilities. And again, as important, being open to a long-term commitment are some of the best practices. And third, engage directly with emerging innovators to hone technology assessment capabilities. Of course, do your research, read company profiles, everything you can find online, but talking to the innovators themselves will give you a different perspective. And through Ideathons, attendees not only engage with startups, but they also learn which key questions they need to ask when evaluating the impact of new technologies. And we can also facilitate introductions between these startups and our clients that may result in collaboration discussions as well. With that, I would like to look at the questions we have received. I see one that is related to what Matilda talked about, referring to what Matilda talked about. So Matilda, you mentioned innovation clusters as a good approach for first interaction with like small companies, early stage startups. Can you elaborate on other ways to engage as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a really interesting question, actually. because indeed, also in the early stage space, there are like a couple of ways you could interact with startups. One, as we discussed, is through innovation cluster, but also I wouldn't overlook the power of also like co-development partnership with early stage startups. So most of startups that are coming to the scene also sometimes lack industry knowledge and they need some guidance. They might have like a really powerful technology, but also implementation of the technology in industrial setting is a big factor. So for corporation, there are like the possibility of uncover untapped opportunities over there and help the startup developing the technology tailor to their needs. For example, we have seen that working really well with startups in the material space that partner with chemicals or material companies to tune the properties of the final material according to the need of the material company. Or, for example, we have seen also like a company like Cyclist that we discussed before form as a sort of joint venture between two big companies like Agelix and then also ExxonMobil to accelerate really the development of the platform. And recently we've seen Cyclists receiving investment also by Lion Bezal that acquired 25% of ownership in Cyclists. So really, in my opinion, also like engaging co-development cycle with early stage startups can be a way to really like untap opportunities in the sector as well.
Yeah, thank you, Matilda. And there is another question about co-development. Do co-development cycles make sense for consumer products? Urbi, I think you can answer this question.
Yeah, Tucci, that's a good question. If you look into the CPG sector, so what I can think of there are these co-development opportunities, like I earlier mentioned, that some of the big corporate players, they have these side streams, but they lack the capabilities to use those or to valorize those in order to produce some high value ingredients. So there comes the play of co-development opportunities of these large ingredient companies with say these startups having some kind of strain engineering or fermentation capabilities, or some technologies that would make some kind of end products that would ultimately valorize the raw materials. Again, we are also seeing recently some kind of developments around these established mycoprotein players, that is fungi-derived protein players. They are also collaborating with these established ingredient developers who have side streams that can be used as substrates for their fermentation capabilities. So it ultimately depends on the end products, right? So some of the clients might want to partner with early stage developers, and depending on the end product, some might want to go for more advanced level startups.
Amazing, thank you, Urbi. There's one question that I can answer. What are the next ideathons about? Yeah, we are, actually, I can move on to the next slide. We have 3 ideathons open for registration: alternative proteins, critical minerals, smart packaging for the first 3 months of 2024. And we will be opening new ideathons per month for registration as well going forward. This actually concludes our webinar for today. The slide presentation and recording from this webinar will be sent to all attendees via email also today. Please check out upcoming ideathons, these and any other upcoming ideathons that will be open for registration on the Lux member site. If you're not a client of Lux, you can reach out by email. We can discuss how we can help you in our, if you can register for one of the Ideathons, or if we can help you in your sustainable innovation journey. Thank you again for my panelists.
Thank you, Tuğçe.
And thank you. And after leaving the webinar, you will be prompted to complete a survey on today's presentation. We would appreciate any feedback to help improve future webinars and Ideathons. Thanks for joining us today, and have a great day.
Thank you.